All right. Let's get this stream up and running so I can just jump straight in and just kick this off today. Hi everyone, my name is Laith Wallace. Welcome to Wallace TV, and on this channel, I share with you advice, tools, and motivation to help you become a better designer. And today, I want to speak about, will AI replace product designers, or you could say, will AI replace UX designers, UI designers, specifically us that work in tech? We want to break it down, and I want to share with you some key things as we go forward and we talk about this today. But as we're about to start, I've got some key things I want to just break down to you. So one of the key things we're going to talk about today are specifically design salaries and how our salaries are kind of mapped out and working out right now. The second thing we're going to be speaking about is how you can stay ahead as a designer and what are the key things you can do to help you step out into the marketplace. The third thing we're going to break down is something which I call, I should say, is something which we call skill stacking. And this is the ability to stack your skills and be able to have skills that reflect your core areas of expertise and interest over time. So as we jump straight in today, I want to go straight in and kick it off. Fundamentally, will AI replace us as product designers? And let's start specifically first talking about design salaries and how that makes sense for us today. So as I jump in, I kind of want to open up this spreadsheet first and show you specifically kind of what's happening now. Let's talk about the UK and how our salaries are kind of being played out. And when you look what's happening across the industry, and to whoever created this spreadsheet, this is not my spreadsheet, by the way, guys, a spreadsheet that I found through being a part of a tech design community. Thank you so much to those who created this. So I'm not taking any glory at all from putting all this information together, but it gives you a kind of rough estimation as to, like, in the industry, you see like lead product designer 20,000. That just doesn't make any sense. But it's like in the industry, there's like some real inconsistency between job title and pay. Like, in other words, job title and the amount you get paid. It really does depend to like location, where you're based, your ability to negotiate, your ability to ask for, how you ask for what you ask for, what you bring to the table, your prior experience, etc. So if you look, for example, on the right hand side, you can kind of see the company size and the amount they're spending. So in other words, small companies don't have as much bigger budgets, so they're spending less. If I scroll down a little bit more, you might see the same junior role, but the company size is a bit larger, but at 50,000. So your junior designer in this context paying 50,000, a junior designer in a much larger organization, 1,000 plus, at 40,000, 35, 40,000. That's kind of what I've seen in my industry, in my career. Also, you might see like a mid-size senior product designer, 37,000. I've seen way more than that for product designers, senior designers, even up to 70, 80, 90,000 plus. So what happens in the industry is, and what I'm seeing is that specifically when young designers are coming into industry, you may be around that 25,000 mark, 27,000 mark, and 40,000. So that kind of would be a rough starting salary. Now, it depends where you go. Do you choose to go to a startup? Do you choose to go to a big corporate? Most of the time as a junior designer, you're just trying to get your first role. So personally, in my opinion, I wouldn't so much worry about salary as much as, does the salary cover your basic expenses? Will you be able to travel? Will you be able to live? We live in a time of high inflation. And as a result, many designers are making choices to have side hustles. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as well a bit later. But what we're seeing is that as you grow in your career, don't worry so much about the titles at junior level, right? Whether it's digital designer, product designer, lead design, what we call it, design associate. Some companies may use that term. Most of the time, it's like UX designer, UI designer, UX UI designer, product designer, junior product designer. It's like the titles always fluctuate in the industry because there's not real consistency there. But roughly, you tend to find junior as a label before the product designer role or UX designer. So junior UX designer, junior product designer, junior UI, junior UX UI. But junior tends to normally be there in bigger organizations. Now, what we also find is if I go higher up the salary banding, this term product designer, right? You can see where the term product designer can be someone who's a junior and also someone that's at that mid-level. So this is kind of like your mid-level product designer salary, anywhere between roughly about 55,000 to about 70,000. Like, it depends on the organization. I'm just going off my own personal experience, what I've seen in the past, and also what I've kind of seen even in sometimes when you're recruiting for certain roles and things like that. Now, what happens at this kind of level is what happens as a designer is that you've got to get better at learning how to negotiate your salary. And your ability to negotiate your salary is one of your strongest skill sets that you have as you grow. Now, not just to negotiate your salary, right? Because negotiating your salary is one thing, but what you got to pay attention to is how you negotiate from job to job. There's a fantastic article here on calzemius.com, and it's a big article. It's going to take you about a good 10 minutes to go through everything. So I've done the duty of kind of summarizing the kind of key points. So one of the key things you want to understand is that number one thing, don't give a number first. So like when you're negotiating your salary, the first thing you don't want to pay attention to is like, so the recruiter says, hey, so what salary are you looking for? Well, you could kind of come back and say, hey, well, I'd love to see if I'm a good fit for this organization, and it'd be good to know, what have you paid for this role before in the past? And they may or may not give a number. If they don't give a number, they say, oh no, we just love to know what you charge. Well, you could always push back and say, you know what, I just want to make sure I'm a good fit and make sure that, you are hiring A players, because I want to work at a company that hires A players. So what do you normally pay your A players kind of thing? So it's the kind of, obviously, speak in your own voice. And this article breaks it down better than I can, because negotiating is something that I'm still getting better at. Even though I've been in the industry 12 years plus, it's still something I'm getting better at year on year. But it's something that this article breaks down very, very thoroughly. I don't even want to do it an injustice. If you want a link to this, go to the description box and I'll add this link in the description box as well. And if you want a copy of this spreadsheet, then literally send me an email to hello@laithwallace.com, hello@laithwallace.com. Send me an email and I'll shoot this over to you as well. So what we see here is this breakdown of like different salary banding, different ways to look at what you get paid as designers. And then as you go up the ranks, from head of design, lead product designer, senior product designer, senior, lead, and head of, depending upon company size, the industry you're in, you can have different roles in regards to name. So it could be a senior in healthcare, a lead in entertainment, and a head of design, but you're working for the government. But the head of design working for the government is getting paid way less than the lead that might be working in entertainment or finance, for example, right? So the industry you're in also can impact the pay that you get as well. Now, when you're a junior designer and you're growing in your career, one of the key things you want to pay attention to is, what industry can I over time start to specialize in? Now, as a designer, it's good to, at a younger age, get as much experience across multiple industries as much as you can. But one thing that really helps you as you grow in your career is your ability to specialize, right? Now, that doesn't mean that you have one skill as a designer, and we're going to talk about skill stacking, but it means that you have a generalist skill set, but you have a T-shaped skill set to who you are. And I can go into that as well if you love it. But fundamentally, what you're doing is you're making sure that you have deep knowledge in one area, but you have a broad set of skills across multiple different areas as well. If I just type that in just so you understand what I mean. When we talk about the T-shaped designer, this definition is good. T-shaped designer is a specialist who has a lot of capabilities in other areas. T-shaped designers get their name because of the stem or the vertical line of the T, which represents their expertise in one area, while the horizontal line, symbolizes related skills in a broad number of areas. So I think this is a great image here that can break it down. So your breadth of knowledge across multiple different areas, right? Wing discipline, but you have your core discipline, core skill, expertise. So myself, as a prime example of this, I would have my UX design, product design skill that would go deep. And then across that, I would have like marketing, strategy, videography, photography, marketing, content design, SEO, branding, etc. That would be on a kind of broad level. And you have this deep product design, deep UX design skill set, which I've possessed and grown over the years. So that's one thing at a junior level. You want to go deep into the design skill, but be able to cross disciplines that relate to that core skill that make you an even stronger, more impactful designer as well. So when we talk about will AI replace designers, or will AI replace product designers, will AI replace UX designers, one of the key things you've got to do is make sure you have a breadth of skill and you have a depth of skill as well. So you can kind of see it here in this visual here that I found quickly. Research, UI, prototyping, visual design, coding, writing, etc. Somebody might have general knowledge in these areas, but has this real deep visual design, motion design, core skill to them as well. And this is a reflection of how you can stand out in the industry, how you can actually make sure you're employable going forward, is because you have depth, but you have broad knowledge. And that depth and broad knowledge combined with your ability to network as well will make you a much more effective individual, specifically as you grow in your career. So you want to make sure that you're networking, you're also meeting recruiters, you're meeting other designers in industry as you grow. But fundamentally at this moment, it's a broad range. And then you got right the way down to like design lead here, working in government, 180,000. You got remote job, 159,000. You've got startup here, 148,000 for user research. You've got UX UI designer, 129,000 for tech industry. Sometimes government can pay as well. You got some large tech company, 120,000. So the range that you can get paid as a designer is quite broad. Have a good conversation with the recruiter you're working with. Step out and go forward. All right.